guys, it's Alex from the Disciples here today with HASHIM MUSTAFA, who got top 16 of LCS 15 this weekend with Prank Kids. Hi, Hash.
Ah, yes. Hi, Betty.
How are you,
Yeah,
firstly?
I'm feeling well. Just finished my top 16 match. I don't think there was much I could have done. But yeah, overall, really happy with the deck choice, and yeah, especially because this is like a deck I've been like it's been a pet deck of sorts for a very long time, and now
Yeah,
I think it's actually like viable. So I tried it in an LCS and did well.
yeah.
First stop without Block Dragon, first stop without being a 3v3. So really glad that I was able to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really good to hear. Should we just get straight into it then? And then we can go over your rounds at the end. Um,
Yeah,
or if
I
you got
just
anything you
wanted to
want to say
shout out
first.
first.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, I just wanted to shout out first. Um, so first of all, big shout out to like obviously everyone in the Disciples. This is the first event I top as a member of the team. They've been very welcoming, and I look forward to doing well again in the future. Check us out, check our sponsors. Links will be down in the description. Shout out to WAF, obviously, as always, for like the constant theory testing, the support group in general. It's very nice, very good. And especially like Cormac, Gabriel, Ryan, and Christian, and June. These five were like the ones that I talked to the most for this event, and I did a lot of testing with. So yeah, thanks to you guys, and yeah, I wouldn't have done it without their support, honestly. But yeah, that's all.
Ah, that's so good. Uh, it's humbling to hear. So yeah, let's just get straight into it. I really like how aesthetic the decklist is for one. Um, but two, so as Prankers has been seeing a lot more popularity recently, it's kind of like a hot topic on if you should play Poly or not. And as we can see, you decided to play three of it. How was that this weekend?
Poly was fine. I didn't see it much, so it didn't like overperform or do anything. It was good when I had it. Like it definitely like it won me around for sure. Against the Drytron guy who trolled me, and then I had to hard summon Butler, for example. Like I used Poly in very non-conventional ways. I never did the Poly two kids combo because I never had it, but I would like have Poly one kid and I would set up Toad and pass, and Toad is like really oppressive, I think,
Yeah,
because like Bracket in general is like like it's always in a very good spot once the combo resolves, but if it resolves with a Toad on board as well, it's just impossible to lose almost,
yeah,
except in
agreed.
top 16.
Of course, of course.
Uh,
Just when it matters
uh,
sometimes.
so I don't know. Moving
Yeah,
moving forward, moving forward. First of all, like playing this deck to begin with is an entire different conversation because I think like it had really good results this weekend, like a really high conversion rate. Three of three bracket decks topped,
did
and
only
one is
three
still
enter?
playing in top eight. No, 11 entered and three
Oh, okay,
topped.
that's pretty good
Like
still. Yeah,
it's like the second highest rep deck in top cut after Drytron, I think. Anyway, um, so playing this deck in general is like a different question altogether. Playing Poly itself, I'm not too sure yet. Like it might get cut because um it's not like the most consistent card. Uh, could be swapped easily for something else like a Cosmic or a Talent, especially Cosmic. Cosmic was something I really wanted to play in this list somewhere, but I couldn't. Uh, but I was happy with the choice, and especially like during the testing process, Poly was the best card in my deck for like a long time. Maybe it's a bit outdated now, but I decided to not make any big changes soon to the date of the event because I was just like very confident in what I had, so I
yeah,
decided to stick with that, and it worked out. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Poly, basically.
yeah. Following that, just desires as well. Quickly, I know this sees a lot of play anyway, but
Yeah. So like I think so. This happened to me as well. So I think the like overall consensus is that you're either playing Poly or Desires. You're not playing both. But Christian, like I told Christian Thomas to play Poly. He said, "Yeah, I'm playing Poly as well." And I was like, "Okay, are you playing Desires?" And he was like, "Yeah, I play Desires as well." And I was like at first a bit skeptical of that, and then I thought about it and I realized there's no actual reason why you don't play both together. Like
yeah,
Poly and Desires are not the same card. They're two different cards. One is like an extender and the other is just a card advantage card. Like I don't think Desires is a consistency card in this deck. It's a card advantage card because consistency is something this deck does not need. You have like 15 starter cards. It's completely fine without desires. But the card advantage it generates alongside the pranks draw, alongside the Roxy's draw, just put you a lot ahead, especially going first. It gets side out most games
Oh, really?
because it's simply just yeah, it is. It does because it's not a consistency card. Like you see, all you need going second is a kid. Desires is either going to draw you into even more kids or into hand traps, and you don't want to do that. So you just keep Poly instead. Also on
Makes
Poly,
sense.
another big point. I think a lot of people over underestimate how strong Poly and Pandemonium are into the Tri Brigade board. I didn't lose a single game to Tri Brigade today, and that's not because I hand trapped them. It's simply because like if I don't draw my hand traps, the only other cards in my deck are like the fusion spells and the kids, right?
Yeah.
So I just like they set up Appaloosa Revolt, but that doesn't matter. Like you open Poly to kids, you break that easily. Um, so I broke a lot of Tri Brigade boards today with that. And that's also something that puts Poly in an advantageous spot in the format right now, in my opinion. Because last format you didn't really have that ability with Poly, but I think now you do for sure.
No, that makes a lot of sense actually. No, yeah, I've got nothing to say because I just wanted to know the opinions. Right, hand traps. Mainly more
Yeah.
on the
All right.
side deck ones, but if you've got anything to cover all the main deck ones as well.
Yeah, all right, all right. I'm gonna go quickly through the ones on the main deck. So
Yeah.
I think Ash, Veiler, Imper are like very self-explanatory, very standard. I think they should be in every main deck this weekend anyway because of Traizu. No, not Traizu, Tri-Brigade. Maybe moving forward that changes up a bit. Not sure, but for now, I think these were correct. Bell, on the other hand, I think Bell is fine. I don't think it's a bad card, but I don't think it's like if that card, if Bell could be Gamma and Gamma would be live if I controlled a monster, I would be playing Gamma. The problem with Gamma in the main deck is that this is a going first deck. You get hand trapped on your kid, you have Gamma in your hand, it does nothing. And if you pass on a Meow Meow, you need to have every single interaction you could possibly have.
Mm-hmm.
So I prioritized Bell over that. Something else we considered was to main deck Cosmic, and I think in a vacuum, Cosmic is just a better main deck card overall. Because you could argue Drytron, but I don't think the difference between 9 hand traps and 12 hand traps changes how favored you are into Drytron game 1. The problem more so becomes that if you do main deck Cosmic, you have to take a concession on the number of hand traps you will have post side because I think it's mandatory to have Twin Twister in your side deck as well. So you end up having Cosmic in the main deck, Twin Twister in the side deck, and that's 3 less slots for potential hand traps, which then that does make a difference post side against Drytron. Because the best thing you can do against that deck is to just throw all of the hand traps into the kitchen sink and try to stop them and then normal summon a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And when you have 3 less hand traps for that plan, it's just way worse and way less likely to happen. And I didn't lose to a single Drytron today, so I'm happy with my choice. Um, as for the hand traps in the side deck, another thing, I mean, I've been emphasizing on Drytron a lot. I really wanted every single hand trap in my deck to be live against Drytron. I ignored the existence of Dragon Link and Antagonistor completely. Um, like
Respectable.
that's why there is no draw because I thought Drytron was just way more popular and turned out to be right. Drytron was the most popular deck this weekend. Um, so I played Gamma. Gamma was because it's obviously high impact against Drytron. Like Gamma, usually Gamma is very similar against most matchups in comparison with Imperm and Veiler. But against Drytron, it's not. It hits the names, which is really important because hitting the names is what you want to do in that
Mm-hmm.
matchup. And also, it's more copies of Veiler and Imperm against Tri Brigade, which is like the best possible hand trap you can have in that
Yeah.
matchup.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's also another thing for the mirror match, which wasn't very popular, but Gamma's overlap made it worth it in my
Yeah,
opinion.
I get that.
And you have space for a lot of hand traps. So the one driver doesn't make that big of a difference because like against Dryton you already have 20 hand traps post side with the driver, so 21 total. That's literally more than half of your deck, so
Yeah.
it's fine. Um, I went for Cycle Reader over Joel because I thought Cycle Reader is better than Joel against Drytron, especially because they play Dragoon.
Yes, yeah, I've been
Um,
seeing that as well.
you need to clear the bodies. You need to clear the bodies because well, Bracket has not the hardest time ever dealing with Dragoon, but you still would rather prevent them from getting
Yeah,
there to begin
exactly.
with.
Yeah,
Um, the fact that they use Verti and are on 6,000 life points makes life so much easier for you as a Prankets player because it's so much easier to kill them. But still, Cycle Leader is just a better card. Now, the reason I played 2 Cycle Reader and 3 Meister over the opposite ratio, which I probably could have done in hindsight because, like, the mirror isn't that popular. And even if the mirror is popular, I have 8 hand traps if I play 2 Meister that stop the first kid.
yeah,
But overall, the reason was that because I played 20 hand traps post setting in Strytron, I didn't think that like I needed to have the maximum copy of the highest impact one because on average you're always drawing 2 or 3 because you draw 2 around 85% of the time, you draw 3 around 50% of the time. So you don't always need to see Cycle Reader. Like any 2 hand traps is usually fine. So the third copy of Meister being more versatile than the third copy of Cycle Reader took the priority for us when we were building this deck. Um, the lack of Nibiru is also something that people might question. I think
hmm,
Nibiru is just not very good right now. It's not that
exactly.
good into Tri Brigade because it only prevents Appaloosa, and Appaloosa does nothing into your deck as long as you draw like a fusion spell, which like you have really good chances of doing. It's not just fusion spell actually. Like just to be clear, um, Pandemonium 2 kids, Poly 2 kids, plays on its own because it chain blocks the
Yeah,
kids. Pranks and a kid, instant and a kid. Like there are a lot of ways to just play around Appaloosa. Um, so I didn't prioritize Nibiru for that reason. I also thought that like against Drytron, Nibiru is fine, but stopping them earlier is way better than stopping them later. Like that's bottom line. The priority was just beat Drytron every single time, and I beat every single Drytron I played against. So yeah, these were
sure.
my hand trap choices, and that's why I played these. Yeah.
No, that makes sense. I've never been a fan of siding Gamma, but for the reasons you outlined, it made a lot more sense. Thanks to that. I guess the final question about the side deck is the siding of talents in this deck.
Yeah, so Talents was either itself or Judgment,
Mm-hmm.
and honestly, it's like really, really close between the 2 cards. But and Talents, just to point out, Talents wasn't that good for me this weekend. It was like okay, I
Mm-hmm.
never was able to resolve it the ideal way you wanted to. Uh, but that's also because I didn't draw it that often. Anyways, I think Talents is a good card in general, and so is Judgment, obviously. The difference is that I think with Talents, after you get hand trapped on a kid, which is very likely, by the way, because like a lot of decks right now are mid range decks that are just gonna play like a gazillion hand traps, right? So you
Yeah.
just like activate Talents. You look at their hand, even if they have multiple hand traps, you just take off their engine, and then you win in the long run because you have a kid every turn, and they don't have a starter.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so the reason we mainly pick talents is because we thought that with polymerization, talents becomes a bit better,
Yeah.
simply because like you first of all are able to draw into more extenders if you need to do that effect.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Second of all, you are able to negate the twin twister that judgment would negate with Toad instead of with talents whenever you set up Toad. So you lose the twin twister less often.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think that the card has, on average, a higher impact. Like I think if talents ever resolves, it's usually the best card in the game because of like just like read the card. It
Yeah,
does everything
exactly.
you possibly want it to do. And the way I thought about it was that if Twin Twister didn't exist, I wouldn't think of playing Judgment. So am I really gonna play Judgment in my side deck and justify it because there is one card that I'm
Yeah.
really scared of? I don't think that's correct. So I just played Talents instead because I think it's the higher impact card. And with Poly becomes better. So yeah, that was my reasoning.
No, no, that makes a lot of sense. So and it wasn't very good for you this weekend, right? Is what you said, or
Yeah, I mean, I didn't draw it very much.
yeah.
And against the guy in top 16, I normal summoned the kid and I had a talents in my hand and he just didn't seal the kid for some reason. So okay, whatever. I don't know why, but he just didn't.
This didn't
So my
seal, so it's
talent was
funny.
completely dead.
Yep.
Um, I'm trying to recall if I um, hmm. if I resolved it earlier in the week in the tournament. I don't think so. I also think another reason though is because I almost 2-0'd every single opponent. So
Ah,
I never
too
got to put it.
powerful.
I never got to put it in. Like
Yep.
day one, I only lost one game,
Yep.
and day two, I won. I lost two games in day two. No, 3 games. 3 games. So like I won. So I won round 7 2-0, and then round 8 I lost 2 games in the mirror match, and then
And top
top
16.
16 I lost 2 games again.
Yeah.
But yeah, like
Yeah.
the fact that I like had a lot of 2-0 games also meant I wasn't able to side it in as often. So
Yeah. Oh,
that
yeah,
was
that makes
also
sense. Um,
yeah.
so yeah, I think the last thing to talk about the deck is just the Alsa in the side deck. Um, the Earth Charmer.
Yeah, I'm really happy I kept Asa in my deck. So just before getting into that, I just want to say the rest of this extra deck is mandatory.
Yeah.
Um, there is no discussion over the cost. I've seen people talk about the roller coaster, like the Link 4.
Yeah.
Don't do that because the only reason the card doesn't come up very often is because the matchups it comes up against don't happen very often. But every single time you play against one of these matchups, it comes up. Also, it came up against Dragon Link today against the top 16 guy in the
Really?
game I won.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because I had to clear his boot sector,
Oh.
um, so that he doesn't like go plus 1 million. So the card is a good utility is a good utility to have. It's a good option to
Yeah.
have.
No, that's funny
Just
actually.
because
Yeah.
like it's like feather duster. Like
Yes.
why
Yeah.
wouldn't you? Uh, 3 Meow, 3 Doodle. You need those for the grind game.
Mhm.
Absolutely. One Bow Wow. You only need one. If you play correctly, you won't need more. One of each fusion. Very self-explanatory. Unicorn to climb attacks. Good. It's the best Link 3 you can play. Don't tell me to play Celine. I'm not gonna do that. It's also good for like forcing imperms before making the access code.
Yeah.
Also, is to out contact C. Like you have to do that because you have to respect contact C. Like if you don't play an out to contact C, you genuinely just lose. You don't have any way to play the game
Yeah.
with this deck. Um, I almost cut it. I was also debating between Osa and Lambda, but because I'm siding Gamma, I figured Lambda wouldn't be too relevant. So I just played Osa instead. And Osa's effect like came up twice yesterday, so I'm
Oh,
really glad
really?
I
That's
played it.
nice.
Yeah. I was this close to cutting it last minute and playing Hita instead because Hita is so fucking cool. Like it's such a nice card.
Yeah.
But what's it called? Um I figured like realistically speaking, whenever you go for Hite, it's because it makes the game. It's like training wheels. It just makes the game
Makes the
easier.
game
It
easier.
doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily. Uh, you don't necessarily go into it because you need to go into it. So I figured like the contact out would be a way bigger necessity, and I did get contacted once, and I had the Oz, so it worked out.
Oh, did you actually?
So yeah,
Okay, cool.
yeah, I'm glad with that choice. I don't know why people would play contact. I think you need to just prioritize Drytron right now. But if you play it, yeah, sure, I have Osa, so it's fine.
So it's fine. It's fine.
Uh, yeah.
Yeah, I
Um,
think that's about it.
that's
Unless you've
it.
got anything else.
Um, just to touch on the Twin Twister and the side, like just to make sure. Like I spoke about the Cosmics and the Twins earlier. I think overall, regardless of what you think about these two cards, if you side one of them, it should be Twin. Because most decks are siding it to more traps both side, all of the control decks against Sky Striker, against Tri Brigade, against the Mirror Match. Twin Twister is just infinitely better post side than compared to Cosmic. That's just fact. Um, and obviously it's necessary to have back row removal.
Yep.
It's better than Lightning Storm. It's better than Lightning Storm right now because of Pandemonium, because of Anti Spell, because of Imperial Order.
Schism.
So
Those
yeah,
cards.
you
Yeah.
should play quick play back removal,
Yeah.
and Twin Twister is the one to play in the side deck if you only have one, if you only have 3 slots between your main deck and your
Yeah.
side deck, in my opinion.
Okay.
So that's why we play Twin Twister. But yeah, that should be the entire deck. Also,
Yeah.
3 Roxy's because of polymerization. Just play maximum significance. That's it.
That's
Yeah.
all good.
Oh, one more thing. One more thing. I didn't play terraforming. Sorry, Betty. I'm just trying
It's
to
all good.
like,
It's all good.
I'm just trying to like include every single thing I could possibly think of.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Okay. Terraforming and skill drain. These are also two good points like to bring up. Um, terraforming is a good card, but what I found myself doing is I would side it out every time after game one because there would be no space to keep it in,
Hmm.
and to me that makes no sense. Like if I'm keeping it in every game post side, then I will play it because terraforming and place are the best kids to see going second,
Yeah.
because they allow you to chain block your kids' effects.
Hmm.
Um, But if you're siding one of them out, then it's just redundant having them in
Yeah,
the main deck
exactly.
over an actual name. And Skill Drain was a card I would have main decked, if not for the abundance of Drytron. I don't think you side. I don't think you sided because your deck loses to Toon Twister, so you shouldn't play cards that lose to Toon
Yeah,
Twister.
exactly,
So
exactly. I
it's
agree.
either you main it or you side or you don't play it at
Don't play
all.
it at all. Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I think maybe people are wondering why I'm not playing like Droplets, Dark Ruler, all of these cards. I just think hand traps are more reliable right now, especially into Drytron. Especially into Drytron. Like
Yeah.
you will never, like a Droplet into a Drytron board is never enough. It's a myth. It doesn't exist. There's just no way. Um, so just play hand traps instead, in my opinion. And if you play hand traps, you commit to full hand traps. You don't mix it up because then you get weird hands. So yeah, that's all, Betty. I'm sorry. Yeah, I promise.
No,
There's
it's all
nothing
good.
else.
It's all good. So last off, I guess, is just your matchups and your tournament experience then.
Yeah, so I have an extensive like tournament report written already, and it's on my Facebook page if people follow me there. But just to summarize,
Yep.
round one I played against Straizo, I won 2-0. Round two playing against Rescue Cat Tri Brigade, and I won 2-0. Round three I played against Alter, guys, the second best deck of every format. You heard it here first. I won 2-0. Round four I played against Drytron, won 2-0. Round five, I played against Melfi Tri Brigade. 1-2-0. Round six, I played against Drytron again. And I won 2-1. Round seven, I played against Drytron again. And I won 2-0. Um, and then round eight, I lost the mirror match 2-1. And top 16, I lost to Dragon Link 2-1. And my die roll record was 5-4. I think I won four die rolls and I lost five. Yeah, that's it.
Did you win all of the games you went first?
Let me check. Uh, no, so I lost round eight, despite winning the die roll.
Hey,
Uh,
that was a mirror, right?
but
Yeah.
every other game I won the die roll. Yeah, yeah, that was the mirror match.
Yeah.
Every other game I won the die roll, I won the match. Yeah. I think I just think it's very hard to beat Branked if they go first game one.
Yeah.
Like, it's just like this is the most control I've felt over the game ever since like resolving a setup. Basically, like
Yeah.
you're just in so much control. The deck is just extremely powerful. Has a really high like power ceiling. Not really like a combo ceiling because you can't really like extend too much. Like it feels like you can, but you can't because your monsters only get triggered off like summoning Prankets.
Yeah.
But the deck is like very good at controlling the game state. And I think what one kid resolving does is like absolutely unfair. And then even if they hand trap it, if you can keep playing, it's even more unfair because it's the exact same thing except they've gone neg one.
Yeah.
Like
Exactly.
it's just such a good card advantage deck. You
Yeah.
grind them out very easily, and stuff like Weather Washer and Bow Wow makes match so much easier
Yeah.
and like way harder for people to deal with the Pranked engine. So yeah, I think it's a really good control deck. It also like helps you play the game better. So if people want to pick it up to improve, I think this is like a very good deck to do that.
What do you think of the deck going forward into this format?
I think it changes. I think it changes a bit. I think people respect Prankeds more already. And now that it has a good showing this weekend, I think it will be even more respected.
Yeah.
I think it was a very underrated call. Like I saw almost none in the YCS. I think between all of the YCSs, there's only like four or five
Yeah. The
Prankeds
top deck.
decks
Yeah.
remaining, which is like ridiculous compared to how many Tri Brigades are like remaining. Because if you play Prankeds correctly, the Tri Brigade matchup is so good for you.
Yep.
Um, like I say so good in Yu-Gi-Oh terms is like 60-40. Okay, there is nothing such as like 90-10, 80-20. Uh, anyways,
Yeah.
that doesn't exist. Like very rarely anyway. Um, I think the deck is good regardless because it's really hard to say that like Brankets is badly positioned at any given point in the format. I think the one big thing that might make it a bit worse is if people start main decking Nibiru, but that shouldn't happen. Because even if you try to respect Brankets, if you made deck Nibiru, you lose way too much against other decks.
Yeah. Exactly.
So I think for now, Brankets will be solid. Will be worse positioned than it was for this weekend, but the deck is definitely like one of the better choices at the moment. I think it's better than Tri Brigade in my opinion. I mean, I think a lot of decks are better than Tri Brigade. It's kind of a better version of Salamangreat, honestly. That's like the closest comparison I can make because it does what Salamangreat in theory should do all the time, except
Yeah.
Prankit does it all the time and Salamangreat does it like only 20% of the time or something like that because it's like not very consistent. But yeah, I think the deck is good. Yeah.
I swear everyone compares everything to Salamangreat nowadays.
Yeah, Virtual World Salamangreat, but with VFD. Prankit, yeah, Salamangreat, except you end on double Rageki. Stay tuned for the next control deck. Salamangreat.
Soon, TM.
Anyways, yeah.
But yeah, any final shout outs, thoughts, anything like that?
Yeah, no, I just hope that this deck profile was informative and that it didn't ramble on for too much.
No, you
And
did
yeah,
good.
yeah,
You did good.
yeah.
I'm proud.
Thanks for watching, guys, and yeah, I'm really glad I did well. I mean, top 16, but you know, still topping an
Still
event.
good, yeah.
First solo event in like a year. So
Yeah.
I'm glad. I'm glad. It's fine. Happens. So yeah, thanks for having me, buddy.
All good, bro. All good. I'm proud of you for this weekend. I just hope you
Yeah, thanks, man.
keep going. But yeah,
Yeah, we'll do. We'll do.
thanks for watching, guys. Shout outs to sponsors at the Brotherhood Games, Card Market, MetaMats. As always, check out our podcast on Tuesdays, probably. We should be going over the LCS and what else? What else happened this weekend? The
Um,
Invitational as well.
we're gonna talk about how you know a certain someone should have stuck to Dragoonity Remus.
No, or yes, his Sunday U deck.
Yeah,
But yeah,
yeah,
um,
yeah.
but yeah,
It's gonna
thanks
be a
for
lot of
watching,
fun talking
guys.
tomorrow.
Yeah, it'll be really
Yeah,
fun. So yeah, look for that on YouTube, Spotify stuff. But yeah, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.